Coming up, a Sad Styles production. Get into it!
Okay, so Andrew, we're continuing FeBOOary and my pursuit of an understanding of what love is.
Okay, great. Awesome.
I think you know, we did Dream Daddy. I didn't quite understand what love was, and then we did I Love You, Colonel I Love You, Sandals, and I think I know what love is. Okay, and
Foot fetish.
It's a foot fetish. It's an element of it. No, don't you? This isn't a joke.
I'm not
Andrew,
joking about it. I'm so
because
sorry.
we're trying to teach our listeners about what love is. If I don't get it, I'm never going to be able to teach the listeners. So I prepared a bit of a presentation.
Okay.
To demonstrate to you my knowledge of love, and it's going to take the form of a poem.
Oh, that's great.
So I wrote you a poem. Okay.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
So here's my poem.
All right, please.
Wind.
Wow.
Beauty. Heart.
Okay.
Bleeding heart.
All right. Emotional.
Cascading blood.
Okay.
Waterfalls of viscera.
Seems to be a theme.
Melancholy.
Yeah.
Guts.
Oh.
Tragedy.
Okay.
Suicide.
Oh.
Cutting.
Whoa.
Deep breaths. Shallow breathing.
Are you okay?
Yeah, that's my poem.
That's a poem about love?
Well, I mean, if I learned anything over the last week, it's that poems are just a succession of words, which are ever increasingly negative and scary.
Jesus, God, who taught you that?
Well, I learned it all in this wonderful little game that we're going to talk about this week on the Retrograde podcast. It's Doki Doki Literature Club.
Welcome to the Retrograde,
the video game podcast where we learn about poetry, literature, and love.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. My name is Andrew Bascom, and with me as always is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Mikey, the ladies' man, Aaron Worth.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. I had some success in this week's game.
Did you really?
Yeah, there was a lot of fucking and sucking going on.
Oh, I played this game very differently than
did
you.
you play, were you supposed to play? You played the modded version of Doki Doki Literature Club, right?
Did.
Yeah.
Well, as the game says beforehand, and I think we should probably tell the listeners this at home too.
Yes.
You need to be over 13, either an adult or not mentally disturbed or something like that. What did it say?
It says over 13, and it said it is unsuitable for if you're younger 13 or you can't handle disturbing imagery.
Yes.
And in my mind, I'm like, I think there's some sex in my future.
I'm gonna bone in this game.
I'm gonna bone hard in this game.
And I got so excited.
Well, we're continuing this lovely month that we have, and I call it lovely on purpose. It's FeBOOary. It's our theme month. It used to be about scary games, and now we're focused on the scariest thing of all, Andrew. It's love.
Opening up your heart to somebody else.
Opening up your heart to someone else and to the characters in this game.
Yes.
This is the last week of FeBOOary.
Last week.
I thought I was getting sick of dating sims after Dream Daddy and I Love You, Colonel Sanders, and now we're taking a look at something which I think this game a lot of people think of as the best dating sim out there.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I only know it because it has come up so much, not even in this month, but in general, since we started this podcast, people have always said Doki Doki Literature Club. Two things. I remember it for two reasons, because it's got mentioned all the time, and it's got a hilarious name that's very memorable.
Doki Doki.
Doki Doki Literature Club, too. You're like, well, that's odd. And it starts making a lot of sense when you start playing this game. So I'm really glad we got to do it, you know, as the anchor leg of FeBOOary.
Is that like the pirate that loses all the track and field competitions?
Yeah, 100%. Dragging it. Yeah.
High jump. He's like, I don't think I can do this.
I planned poorly. He played poorly. Of course, he has a pirate. A pirate? No, he has a
parrot.
Parrot.
Wow, that sounds. Do parrots have pirates on their shoulders?
Is that why they're attracted to each other?
Yeah.
They're like, we need to see that pirate tomorrow. And then the parrot shows up and he says, oh, natural mistake.
How about this? Okay. The pirate, old anchor leg over there, says, I planned poorly. And then all of a sudden the bird chirps in and says, it's pronounced poorly.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Very good.
That's pretty good.
How many hats is the parrot wearing? Would it be
there's
two?
A hat on a hat.
Oh, who knows? Okay, it's interesting.
What are some other good pirate jokes that we can make at the top of the episode?
Obviously, booty. That's a great one, right? It's a ripe area.
This is great because the listener out there, and if you're new, first of all, thanks for listening. We are the two greatest video game journalists you've never heard of.
That make pirate puns.
That make pirate puns at the top of a video game episode. And last week we talked about our thoughts on the Alec Baldwin shooting.
Right, we did.
We did.
That's hard-hitting news. Do you know they're resuming filming?
Of Rust?
With Alec Baldwin and a new cinematographer?
Andrew.
No, that's actually the headline, and I was like, oh boy.
Do you think that it would be great if there were a clear cut in the movie where all the shots got a little bit worse? And they're like, was that the live one or the dead one?
I just also, when Alec Baldwin disagrees with how things are going, that cinematographer, it's got to start getting nervous. Oh boy. I'll do it and I'll do it again. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
How much do you want to bet that Alec Baldwin had a meeting with everyone, because he's a producer on that movie as well,
of course,
and said, it's what she would have wanted.
To keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're
she
all
died
so
doing
brave.
what she loved.
Absolutely.
I know it sounds morbid, but yeah.
It would be a shame. We would be spitting on her grave to abandon this project. She's an artist. You're an artist.
Is the armor also on? Is she still the one who handed him the gun? I wonder if
God,
she's
I
on
hope
there as
not.
well.
Of all the, I don't know. Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah. Whose side are you on?
The guns. I think it's never the gun. It takes somebody to pull the trigger.
No, Andrew, guns don't kill people.
What's that?
Hollywood actors kill people.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson?
Supposedly.
Robert Durst.
Robert Durst, yeah. Who else killed people? Is there famous actors that kill people?
I know there was a famous actress who died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that happens all the time.
Sharon Tate.
Sure. Oh, she was murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, died in the context.
We all die. Mikey. Just because they're famous celebrity Hollywood stars doesn't mean they don't die.
We all die. You know what that reminds me of?
What's that?
Finding love in grade school, Andrew.
I wonder how that's a connection.
It's Doki Doki Literature Club. The last of the dating sims, the last week of this wonderful month, this theme month that we got going on.
Yes.
And I gotta say, I mentioned I was kind of sick of dating sims. I don't love these games. But this one I liked.
Yes,
without tipping our, like, we're not going to fast forward straight to the end and our thoughts on it all as a whole, but general impressions. Did you enjoy this one?
I found this game very interesting.
Yeah,
even maybe more than like liked or didn't like, or like thumbs up, thumbs down kind of thing.
It was an experience.
It's 100% experience, and it's very memorable. And I will say we are going to delay this as much as possible. We're going to talk about the game as much as possible. We're going to drag out every element as much as possible. There is stuff that happens in this game, and we just want you to if you haven't played this game right now, we are giving you every warning right now to say you are doing this at your own, peril here.
Yes, we I said this at the end of last week's episode. Okay. I'll say it again here. This game is, as someone who doesn't like dating sims,
right,
this is, I'm going to call it a must play. I'm going to say this is a must play game. And the less you know about it going into it, the better. It plays with mechanics. Mm-hmm. It changes what you expect out of a dating sim in a way that comments on the genre itself.
That's a good way of putting it.
And I think that if you have any inclination to play the game, I would pause this podcast now and go do it. It's about a 4-hour experience.
Yeah.
And I think it would be worth it to go into it blind and then come back and join us for the commentary.
100%. If you listened to last week when we talked about I Love You, Colonel Sanders, we talked about how that game is incredibly self-aware.
Yes.
Doki Doki Literature Club is also self-aware.
Very self-aware.
In a very different way.
Yes, very different way, and we're going to get into it. But we're not going to talk, ending right now. We're going to take some time to talk about the build-up to it as well, Andrew.
Absolutely.
So, first things first, what did you name yourself?
My name was Andy B.
Andy B.
I found out very quickly you weren't allowed spaces, so I was Andy B.
Andy. You were Andy.
Yeah.
I was Mikey.
Oh, really?
As always.
Bold choice.
It's just weird because here's the awkward thing about a dating sim like this. You're in grade school.
Yeah.
With highly sexualized characters.
Yes.
I don't know how old they're supposed to be, but I can't imagine
I think we're in high school.
I think they're probably like 14, 15 years old.
Sure.
Let's hope 16 at a minimum.
Well, I don't know what the state laws are in
Japan,
but
that wonderful state.
Well, I assume there's states in Japan.
Well, yeah, but let's hope it's a federal law.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Don't fuck kids is the federal law in Japan.
It is a weird thing of like, I'm playing a 15-year-old and yet I'm not 15. And that was never more apparent.
15.
Yeah, oh my God. It was like playing this game like, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this.
Honestly, there was an element to that.
Yeah.
I mentioned in an earlier episode, I can't remember which one it was. It may have been at the start of Dream Daddy or our top 5 crushes or something, but Neon Genesis Evangelion is a show which takes place and follows around like a group of 14-year-olds who are all hypersexualized, like hypersexualized. And it's just hard to separate those two things. They're not drawn as though they're 14, but then there's references made to their age, and you're like, I don't love this. I don't love this feeling. It's not a good one.
No, I know. When they started to talk about it in part 2, And they were saying how like, well, it's not really true to the book. And then somebody was listing reasons why like the book is different.
Yeah.
And one of them is they all have an orgy. The kids like have a sex scene in the like sewer or something like that. And I was like, well, is that a complaint that they didn't do that? That's probably an unfilmable task. So
by the way, check their browser history right now.
Maybe just blow past that one.
Yeah.
But Stephen King's like, yeah, that was really key. How do you even know the characters then? Cocaine still covered his face.
So let's go through it kind of beat by beat here. I'm going to introduce you roughly to some of the characters as we go, kind of as they're introduced. We start off in the game. We're on our way to school. We as the player character, we don't have an avatar. It's just you looking through the screen of the game.
Never see yourself.
And you run into a friend of yours named Sayori. She is kind of a go-getter. She's described as a little bit obnoxious and annoying.
Yeah. That's one of the first words you get about her. Like this annoying girl waving her arms is chasing after you because you are going to school and you're seemingly leaving her behind.
Right.
She's like, no, great, because she's always late for school.
Yes.
She sleeps in too much.
Yes.
And you're very annoyed to be like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you're almost like a babysitter or something.
Yes.
Like you aren't, but you have that mentality of like, oh, this little brat's going to follow me to school,
100%.
which is a weird tone to start the game off on. But again, this is a dating sim and we have to be used to the fact that we're going to be dealing with archetypes because that's basically what these games are in a lot of ways. You make your way over to school and Sayori basically lets you know that it is the day where you're supposed to at this school check out all the different clubs and join a club. Your character says no interest whatsoever. Sayori says, please at least come check out the literature club.
Yeah.
I'm a part of it. All my friends are there. We're looking for new members. Just come check it out. And this is something you kind of learn with your character in the game as well. They're not a bad person in a lot of ways. They do as though like they are frustrated with Sayori, but they're also kind of playing that older brother figure. Like they're not mean to Sayori in a lot of ways. So you indulge her in this.
For sure. And I do think your character is courteous. Like when they see someone that is sad or they see someone that is having a tough moment, you seem to want to go over there and talk to them. So there is like a built-in where I just don't think they're very interested or inclined to do stuff. But when put in the situation, they seem to do, I don't know, I would say, kind of a generous thing to do.
Yeah, not the horny thing that you would expect in a dating sim. And that's where I kind of started to, there are little bits and pieces here where I started to realize the writing was much more mature than some of the other games that we played. Granted, Dream Daddy is going for jokes and humor. I Love You, Colonel Sanders is going for absurdity. I assumed with Doki Doki Literature Club, based on the image on the cover and all that stuff, it was going to be a horny game.
I would assume so.
So the fact that your player character is not immediately going that route was a nice surprise. It's like, you're not making me be a creep right off the bat. I have no problem doing that myself. I don't need your help.
It comes naturally to you. It comes
so naturally to me.
Yeah.
In fact, I was learning a lot from my player character.
Was that what I was supposed to do?
Where's the touch boobs button? Where's this button?
Where's objectify? You just kept hitting it's not working.
It's not working.
I will also say too, like initial thoughts too. It's a really cool looking game.
Yes.
The graphics and the colors, and it's kind of got these kind of pastels and bright pinks and things like that. It's really cool. Also, the background is shaded really well, so it has depth. And the avatars themselves do move quite a bit.
Yeah, they're drawn in several different poses, as opposed to like Dream Daddy. Again, we'll go back to that, where it feels like each character has kind of 3 or 4 poses. It's well drawn and well designed, but this feels more animated
for sure
than any of the other games that we played.
Because Dream Daddy, when the avatar pops in, that's the avatar you're going to get this time. And he might, the next time you see him, might be in a different position or different clothes or whatever. That's totally fine. But in Doki Doki, they would move as some reactions would happen. They would get embarrassed. They would turn their face.
They get closer to the camera. They get farther to the camera.
100%.
So basically, you go into this classroom, and lo and behold, it's not a bunch of nerds, Andrew.
No. Kind of.
Well, yes, hot nerds.
Nerds. There we go. Yeah.
Sorry. We're introduced to all of the characters we're going to be dealing with over the course of the game.
Yes.
You have Sayori, who we already know. You have Monica, who it becomes clear you knew her from a different class that you had, and she was kind of the go-getter, like the all-American kind of.
He describes her as the most popular girl in school. She's athletic and she's smart.
And she's the president of the literature club.
Yes.
You're also introduced to Natsuki, who is a little bit brash and abrasive, loves anime. She's drawn as clearly a younger character.
Yes.
And I think that she's described as a first year.
Yeah, in one of the few really gross descriptions was like, he comments on her body in the thought, like he didn't say it out loud, the character, but he's just like she's tomboyish and like flat chested and stuff like that. And you're like, I'm sorry, what now?
Yeah, I think your character even says something like, sorry, I'm gonna say him sometimes because I played as myself. I'm trying to say they, but
good
call. Your player character says something like, oh, her frame is much smaller.
Yeah.
And it's like you're reading into what frame means.
Right.
But again, I didn't realize it at this point in the game, but because you start to pick up on how self-aware the dialogue is, that is the kind of thing I think they throw in there to make you feel off a little bit. Like, you are objectifying a kid. The choice to have these as kids is not, as like students, is also sort of a choice. Because at first I'm playing this game thinking like, this is just a game where we're going to date high school Japanese girls. Like, that's just what we're playing. But you kind of get the sense that you have to question your motives at some points in this game. So as we start to describe these characters and what our character is saying about them, understand that it's building a case for being more than just a dating sim as it's happening.
Totally. And so I will say too, going into this, I thought it was a horned up game. And when he did that, I was like, that was my first win. So I'm like,
yes.
Oh boy, here we go, kind of thing. And so you're meeting, you meet Natsuri.
So that's Natsuki. And then Yuri is the next one. She has purple hair and she likes fantasy books and she likes symbolism and metaphor, and she's very shy. But it's very clear that they're all interested in you and a little bit bashful around you. Right. They're talking about you as though they're very excited that you're there. Yeah. And it's not really clear why, but this is a dating sim. So you want to be the center of everyone else's attention. That's kind of the point of it. Those are the characters: Sayori, Monica, Natsuki, and Yuri.
If you had made a bet with me last week and said, we're about to do Doki Doki Literature Club last week after doing I Love You, Colonel Sanders. Yeah. Doki Doki, great reputation. Everyone's really excited for us to play this. That's really exciting. I can't wait to play it. Which would have more characters? I would have lost my house going like, well, clearly Doki Doki's going to have well-developed many characters and stuff like that. Nope, there's 4 of them and you. No robot, no Pop, no dog, Professor.
Pop, I would have liked Pop being in this game.
Like, you don't joke about that. I don't like Pop.
What about Sprinkles? Can we at least get Sprinkles?
Sprinkles, the talking Professor Corgi?
I mean, is there another Sprinkles?
Yeah, you know what? Just as a cameo for him to like excuse him from class
amazing.
Or something like that. Yeah. Like, hey guys, it's club night. Everyone go. And then you walk out and you're like, that was weird. That was a dog.
No one would think it's weird.
Oh, exactly.
That's the thing.
Just the user at home going like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Did I miss something?
The user. Is that what you refer to yourself as when you're playing video games?
Yes.
Not player one, I'm the user. Yeah.
It's like a reboot thing.
Because I call you as a friend, as like in our friend group, that I call you the user.
Oh, you do? Yeah. Yeah. I'm a real mooch.
So those are the characters, Andrew. Did any of them in particular stand out to you? Let's pretend we've just walked into a brothel. Lineup of women.
Okay.
Never mind their age.
Yeah.
Which one caught your eye?
Well,
because I can set that up for you.
I'm not going to say human trafficking. It's like, well, then don't. then please don't bring it up.
Say that. Yeah.
I'd rather you not. Yeah. Okay, so the thing is, there are 2 player models. Sayuri and Natsuki are the same one with different heads. And Monica and Yuri are the same bodies with different heads.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. And
interesting.
So Monica has like a green ribbon and brown hair and green eyes, like very atypical. Yuri has purple eyes and purple hair, and otherwise is normal human being.
Yes.
Yuri immediately caught my eye.
Same.
Oh
no! I was hoping we'd go for. I was hoping we'd go for different ones.
Me too.
Damn it. Me too. Don't say that when we're talking about this game.
I just couldn't get excited about Natsuki after our character already like infantilized her.
Yes.
I was like, well, it can't be like room.
And also she's very abrasive in the game. She's mean. She's mean. And I know we talked about Ashley in I Love You, Colonel Sanders liking someone who is a little bit mean to us.
Yes.
But Natsuki is just a brat. She's a brat. Yes. And I didn't like her very much. She has some maturing to do before I will give her the time of day.
Oh, God, I thought you were going to say time of her life.
No, Jesus. I don't have it in me to give anyone the time of their life. What are you talking about? Unless the time of your life lasts approximately a minute and a half, I don't have it in me.
I would just love one day that those words escape your mouth. You're like, I'm going to give you time of your life. As so you could immediately follow up going like, I really didn't mean that. I hope you don't have your expectations very high. I want to make myself very clear.
it's in this day where you have your opportunities to kind of interact and learn the personalities of all these people. It's clear that they're all interested in having you. They're a little bit bashful. They want you to join the club. You agreed to join the club. And you're given a task at the end of the day. You got some homework. Monica says, we're all going to write a poem and we're going to bring the poem in the next day and we're going to read it to each other. And this is when you're introduced to the general, the basic mechanic, the gameplay of this game is poetry writing, which is interesting. Didn't really understand it at first, but essentially you have a list of words that you can see. And there's like 20 words. And every time you select one of those words, two things happen. One of the player characters between Natsuki, Yuri, and Sayori kind of jumps up a little bit. Yeah. And you learn that some of them gravitate towards certain words. Yes. And you're given a little bit of notice that if you write a poem that one of the characters gravitates towards, they will like you more. Yeah. So you learn that you're writing poems for the character. You're basically courting them by writing poems for them. Now, it's a learning process to figure out which words correspond to which people. Yes. And I knew immediately I wanted to write this for Yuri. Or sorry, the second thing that happens is when you select a word, the page flips and you're given a new selection of words.
And it's usually 20 pages.
20 pages total. And you, I knew I was going for Yuri. I'm assuming you were doing the same.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to kind of figure out which words would resonate with Yuri?
Pretty quickly, but at the same time, so Yuri's character likes dark things.
Yes.
Some of the darkest stuff on the page always went to Yuri. Now, I didn't choose those every time of tragedy.
No, tragedy, and I'll get into this later, is actually that one's Sayori. Because I saw that word. Oh. There are a lot of dark words in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to avoid those words. Because some of them are like happiness. And I'm like, rainbow, fantasy, adventure, journey. Yeah.
And Raindrop was Yuri. I remember that one very clearly. And so there was some, in my mind, melancholy. Yes. Darker tones. And Yuri really liked us. And I was like, great. But then there was some really dark shit. And I was like, I'm going to stay away from that.
You see like suicide shows up.
Yes.
Cutting shows
Arson,
up.
I think was one. Yeah.
And then you learn. So another thing about Yuri, she is into she likes to have flowery language. She likes to use all of the words at her disposal. And you learn that there's actually a little bit of animosity between Natsuki and Yuri because Natsuki likes like E.E. Cummings style poems, like very simple and stripped down, no big words. And then Yuri likes to do the fantasy thing of like big complicated words. So I soon got the hang of complicated words are going to Yuri. Anything that had to do with like anime was going to go to Natsuki. And then simple expressions of emotion were typically like simple words, happy, adventure, those things were going to go towards Natsuki. And all of these kind of, or sorry, not Natsuki, Sayori. Natsuki's the anime. So the first time I had success, I wrote my poem and it applied primarily towards Yuri. Do you remember roughly how many of the 20 that you got?
No, I don't. Oh, like the thing was I wasn't trying to go just for one person.
Oh, really?
I would try and spread it out because if you don't give the person a word, their little avatar beside the page would start looking sad.
Yes.
And I was like, well, I'm going to give you one every once in a while. Yeah. And then just at least so I could end like, a little bit of a balance, but definitely favoring Yuri.
See, it's interesting because in real life, that's what I would do. Yeah. You want to
keep your options open.
Keep my options open. Not make everyone feel good. No. I want to keep my options 100%. Open. I don't want to limit myself.
I'm in for you here for number one.
Number one. That's
Alec Baldwin.
So there weren't blanks in those finger guns.
No. And I missed the second person. Yeah.
For the life of me, I tried to hit them too. Yeah, they were running too fast. Where was I going with that? I was looking for number one. Yes. No, but in this game, it's a dating sim, and I know dating sims are about min-maxing. I've mentioned this before. It's one of my issues with dating sims. It's how do you put the most amount of points into one character? These are not human beings. These are avatars. There's a win condition, and the win condition is putting the most amount of points into one person. So I'm like, as soon as I can, I need to figure out how to get a 20 out of 20 for Yuri. First time I was about 12 or something like that. Yeah. But I promised to do better.
Okay.
You get into school in day one of class, and it's time to share your poems. Do you remember how this went for you?
Yeah, so you get 4 options. You get all 4 of your club mates,
yes.
and you get to pick in which order you
show your poems. Yeah.
And I always chose Yuri last.
Oh, really?
And I now looking back and I'm like, yeah, I should have shown her first. What was I doing?
Yeah.
But I always chose her last because I knew it'd be positive. But in that way, you got to see everyone else's as well.
So I'd be curious to see in your playthrough whether that affected what they said about your poems.
Well, it did, and it also affected my ending. But we'll get to that at the end.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what
I had to look it up afterwards, going like, so what's all these endings?
That's curious. Yeah. So I've got, we will talk about all the endings at the end as well, because there are some interesting ones in there. So mine was Yuri. I went to go see her first because I was worried maybe you can only choose 1 or 2 of them, not all of them. So I went to go see with Yuri, and it was incredibly sweet and intimate. Actually, that was sort of what we ended up doing afterwards. But she's telling me she's like very impressed with my writing.
Yeah.
Your character is like, well, I've never written a poem before. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm getting inspiration from you, because the game now knows that you're gearing the poems towards Yuri's character. So that influences the dialogue. Natsuki is like, I don't really like this poem.
Yeah. Usually the other people would start with just an ellipses.
Yes.
And it would just be like, and you're like, oh no, they hate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't actually pick up on that.
Yeah, they always started with nothing because they're like thinking. They're like, so, and it's like, oh no, you said. And it's funny though, because it's pretty established that your guy, the character is a bad writer, or they're new to it, right?
Sure.
So they're learning. And that's totally fine. But the one person you were writing towards always seems to get appreciated.
Yes. And they also show you a poem as well.
Yes.
And they're pretty...
I think I got poems from everybody.
No, yeah. They all do. They all show you a poem. Because the literature club is about, you show them a poem, they show you a poem.
Right.
And then usually what happens is you pair off to have further conversations with the character who resonated most with your poem.
Yeah.
I found the conversations with Natsuki very interesting because I listened to us seriously talking about this.
I know.
I found the conversation with Natsuki very interesting because it was one of those moments where she's shitting on your poem and then she shows you her poem and your character says, I really like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's good. That's good writing. You don't have to just like get a one-up game with this person.
It's completely antagonizing relationship. No, it can be more than that.
Yeah,
right?
It was nice. I like that a lot. So
also her poem sucked. That was just so funny. Every time it's always like, ponies are great, animals are wonderful, and it's always like 3-letter lines and stuff like that.
I loved Natsuki's poems.
Did you really?
So the one you're referring to says something like monkeys can climb, birds can fly, horses can jump, humans can try, and that's okay with me.
And that's enough or something like that, yeah.
It's like purposely, and then she actually explains the thinking behind her writing. Yeah. She's like, I wanted it to end without a rhyme because I thought that would make the whole thing feel a little bit off and sad, but it's not. It is, humans do the best we can, and I was like, oh man, it's clear that the writer of this game is very good at poetry because they can write in several different styles, and have explanations for what they're doing. Monica often uses space on the page really well, where you have to scroll down to read a lot, and she's like, the second last line and the last line were really far apart, and she thought that gave a feeling of emptiness or something like that. And I'm like, at this point I'm playing the game and I'm like, am I enjoying am I liking the interaction? Am I liking learning about poetry? Monica gives you like a writing tip about what to do next, and that's kind of fascinating. After exchanging poems, you go and you pair up with a person. Was it Yuri that you spent time with?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so she got you a book?
Yes.
And you read the book. It's cute. It's a cute interaction. She gets you a book and she says, "Oh, I also bought myself a copy." And you're like, "You bought yourself a copy? I thought you said you had an extra." And she went to the store, bought 2. So you end up reading it with her, and it's very intimate. We end up reading the same book. I'm holding one side of it. She's holding another.
Yes.
And there's like a drawn scene of you cuddled, like kind of cozied up to this person reading. It's kind of cute.
This would happen from time to time, that instead of just a text box on the bottom and avatars that are behind the text box, it would cut to, like not like a cinematic, but like a very differently drawn, very impactful, and all of a sudden it gets like incredibly intimate. And which is so funny about this, that will be kind of a reoccurring thing, is that you do things in these that are so oddly intimate that kissing would feel like less than what you're doing.
100%.
Like, it's like your hand is on their face and you're holding a book on either side and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I have made out with people that I've had less interaction and feeling with.
It is, and what I want to stress there is not...
I also want to make it clear I've made out with people. That's the important point that everyone should take home.
Oh,
I've definitely kissed people before.
You have.
I just said I did. I think that's important and it's well established.
No, I'm just trying to like it was the look in your eyes that made me. You did. You definitely.
That's what I said.
Okay,
it's hard to refute it.
It's weird that you're just getting a little defensive.
I'm absolutely not. But I said what I said.
Right, and that's true. And when you say making out, like that means your lips touched and your tongue went in the other person's tongue.
If that's what you think making out is, then absolutely I've done it.
Oh, you liked it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'm gonna keep trying.
Keep trying as in you have tried before, though, for sure.
Yeah, like no, for sure.
People. Okay, now that pause was
no. I see. People made me think for a second. I was like, okay, multiple people at once. I don't know. I'm not that much of a
But you have made out with a person before.
Oh yeah. Of course.
What? Okay, you really emphasize when you said core. I could almost not hear the C. It was like horse. Did you say a horse? A horse?
No, I didn't say a horse.
Are you sure?
Nay. No. I have made out with people. So you have made out with multiple people then? Are you a fuckboy? Hey, Mikey.
I knew it.
I didn't choose it. I was born into it, baby. I fucking knew it. Like, you don't walk around looking like this and think, I got to keep this to myself.
No. You share the love.
And you did. And
absolutely. You did. No, it was an incredibly intimate moment. And I don't say that. Yeah. I know you do. I can tell.
That's what I just said. It's okay. We don't need to keep, now it feels like I'm bragging.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So poetry and shit.
Yeah. You know all about this, man. I can learn a thing or two from you. Like, if you're going to get someone a gift, someone that you have made out with, the thing that you have made out with, if you were going to get them a gift, like what would it be?
That's a good question. Like
you're not going to say like a big brush, right? Like
no. I was going to say like people love like a whole unpeeled carrot.
Oh,
people really like those.
So the people you've made out with love whole unpeeled carrots.
Yes, as long as they're very salty. So like maybe just get like a salt block as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have a random question because because I think you and I'm learning a lot about you. I see a lot of myself in you.
Yeah.
When you had to make out with someone this first time, did you also have to spread peanut butter on the roof of their mouth to get them to open their mouth? Did you have to do that?
You know what? No, I didn't have to.
No.
They just like peanut butter.
Right.
That's unrelated.
And the person you made out with was named Mr. Ed, right?
I don't kiss and tell, my man. I don't kiss and tell. Okay. That's for other people.
Okay. All right. I get it.
I do like the formality of it, though. Yeah. Do you want to kiss Mr. Ed?
Open your mouth. Let me shove some peanut butter in it.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
That was fun.
That was very fun and informative
and real. True.
No, the reason why we bring up the intimacy of these moments, like the way that it happens, I felt like a childlike excitement about, not a childlike excitement, like the excitement you would get in high school when you're connecting with someone.
I did that giddiness,
yes,
like that, like butterflies in your stomach kind of feeling.
Yes,
100%.
They did a really good job establishing that.
I did. There were moments where you felt like the anticipation was so like real that you're like, oh, I really hope this works out. That's really cool. I will say, mine, I don't think moved as fast as yours did. I think I took a couple days to get to this scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think mine happened that fast.
Oh, maybe I just wrote a better poem than you.
I think you also got maybe just more. I think this is the problem with me spreading it around a little bit, is that Yuri is not like, hey, there we go. Nice. We're on. Let's go. So I think you concentrating it to one person made it go along faster.
Yeah, that could have been the case. So we go to day one kind of ends and they say we're going to write another poem for each other. We get to day two. We have the opportunity to write another poem. Did you style this one to Yuri as well?
Yeah, I kept trying for that.
Okay, so we get into the same sort of situation. We read the poems to everyone. Anything new happen in your mind from there, or was pretty straightforward?
No, in my mind, we go a couple of days of in and out.
Yes.
And trying stuff and writing poems. And there's some small interactions, but there's nothing like cutscene wise, or it's nothing too memorable.
In the second day after reading the poems to everyone, Natsuki and Yuri kind of had a little...
Oh, they're getting a little tiff.
A little tiff. Yeah. And Yuri started... Basically, Natsuki's like, this guy's just... He's not a good writer. He's doing things the wrong way. And Yuri kind of defends you. Yes. She's got your back. That felt pretty freaking good.
Yeah, it did.
I liked that. And as they're kind of fighting and it's getting like a little bit heated, something crazy happens. Monica jumps in front of the screen.
In front of
literally jump scared me.
Yes, in front of the text box.
Yes.
So everyone else has been behind it the whole time. And all of a sudden now you can't see the writing.
Yes.
You just see Monica.
You just see Monica. She's right in front of the screen. She's like, we need to stop, as though she doesn't want you to see what they're fighting about.
Yes.
That kind of thing. It's a weird breaking, like there's this safety space between you and the game because you always have the text box there, and all of a sudden someone has, it's almost like you put on 3D glasses and she starts to pop out of the screen.
Well, yeah, and it's also the first time that someone feels like they're talking directly to you. It's almost like fourth wall breaking, where they're like you, and you're like, whoa, okay, yeah, I got it.
Right.
Okay.
So that kind of breaks them up, and it ends with Monica giving a writing tip to save your game. Yeah. Which is another moment where I'm like, and she kind of comments on it being weird that she talked about saving a game. Yeah. And I was like, what is, so, I mean, that happens in games. There's a weird self-awareness, but I'm like, there had been none of that up to this point. So I'm like, okay, you know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I started to think something was a little off between her jumping in front of the text box and her telling you, the player character, to save your game. I was like, interesting.
Good for you. I did not pick up on that at all.
Oh, you didn't?
I was like, video game bullshit. Here we go.
Yeah.
I was like, and by the way, did save the game. I was like, hey, good call.
I saved the game a lot, for sure, for sure. Day 3 comes, same thing. You break, you write a poem. This one, I tried to get 100%. Did you ever try to do 100% on any of these poems?
I never tried because I was spreading it around.
It's very nice of you.
I am a nice guy.
In this case, I so desperately wanted Yuri's, to get 100%. I mean, Yuri's, I wanted to sexy. I wanted to show Yuri that I cared. Yeah. So I gamed the system. Yeah. To get 100.
How'd you do that?
Word Yuri. Word Yuri. Word FeBOOary. Load. Go back in.
Wow.
Word Yuri. It took me a while to do it. This was another thing that creeped me out a little bit. As I was saving and loading, I noticed that when I loaded, the music didn't cut. You know, it's not like it went back to a loading screen. It was dun, 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 and I could have hit save and load 3 times there and the music never stopped, which is weird because usually loading means you're starting a new game. So then I started to think, is this a mechanic the game is using to see how often I'm trying to get the right poem for the right person? Okay. So I was starting to pick up on something being off on this game a little bit at this point.
Can I ask, did you have a cutscene with FeBOOary around here?
Is maybe her saying that she was happy I was getting along with other people a little, but also...
Did you do up her blazer and it cuts to like the intimate cutscene thing like you had with Yuri?
I don't think I did.
Okay, so I did. And I think it's because I was spreading it around a little bit.
Interesting.
And FeBOOary was also like the recipient of it because I didn't like Natsuki. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay, she likes these words. Okay, that's kind of cool. Yeah. You know, whatever. And it cut to that scene and I was like, oh, something happening here? Like,
interesting.
And it was very intimate, like where you're like doing it up for her. And I think it's also another creepy couple lines where you're like, you realize her body is developed and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh boy. And I'm like, ooh, what's going on? And you're given the option to kind of like, she says very similar things too, like I'm glad you're getting along with other people, whatever. And you're like, and you're like, whatever. And I think you're given an out, like there's 2 option boxes and you're given like an out to like, okay, well, I'll see you later, you know, whatever. And that was another one where I was like, hello, okay, there's some stuff going on
here. There were clues that FeBOOary was getting a little bit jealous.
Yes.
In a way where she would kind of act a little bit differently. She wasn't her usual like bubbly coming up and saying hi. She seemed a little bit more reserved. So I did get that, but I don't think I got that specific scene. So I ended up in my process of trying to get a perfect score. This is when I realized, because it was trial and error, tragedy was a FeBOOary word. And I'm like, FeBOOary is the most bubbly character in this game.
Totally.
It was a bit strange that I would get that. Now, so we read our day 3 poems to everyone, same sort of process. In my experience, because I kept writing poems for Yuri, she kept getting more and more enamored by them. And, Natsuki kept getting more and more upset with me to this point where she was like, I'm not even going to show you my poem. Like, just
really?
Kick rocks. Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay.
Did you, did anything else happen to you on this day?
No, I don't think so. And I was able to see everyone's poems still.
Okay.
I read everyone's poems.
So I usually did, but
everyone's poems.
In this, did they know you were reading these poems?
No.
Oh, you were going
club them over the back of the head, steal them out of their bags.
Okay.
That's a weird option that you're given in this game.
Yeah. So at the end of this of day 3, you have these other kind of intimate moments where I think in this case I was reading with Yuri, and we were like, I was feeding her chocolates as she was reading, because she didn't want to get chocolate on the book. Another very intimate, kind of cute moment. So it's peppered in that. I'm sure if you were writing poems for Natsuki, you would have gotten
something similar,
something like that with Natsuki. Yeah. But what we find out now is there's a festival coming up.
Yes.
And we all have to write poems that we're going to read at the festival.
Yep.
And then we're going to partner off in order to do some work to prepare for the festival.
Yes.
And you have a choice of who you want to partner up with in order to help get ready. Who did you choose?
I chose Yuri.
I chose Yuri as well.
And I think you're also given the choice of working with Sayori, or
I think it's between. I think it's actually just between
Natsuki,
Yuri, and then maybe Monica also.
Huh. I don't remember that. I do remember choosing Yuri and kind of spurning
Natsuki.
Yeah.
There is a point when they start to get when Natsuki and Yuri get in an argument, and you have to defend one of them.
Yes.
And you defend Yuri, and it comes across as you spurning Natsuki, and she kind of leaves angrily.
Totally. That's what I did as well.
As you're leaving, because this is the Friday, as you're leaving to go home for the weekend with plans that Yuri's going to come over to on Sunday, you walk back with Sayori, and this is when she starts to get a little bit sad, and she starts to express to you that she's concerned that you're not spending enough time with her. I think you actually end up going over to her house at this point to see.
So you do, and actually, I will say this kind of, for me at least, this was stretched over a day and a bit.
Yeah, same.
So on Thursday, she kind of expresses disappointment, whatever, and she's not herself. She's not smiling.
Yeah.
And you kind of come over there, like, you okay? And she's like, trying to fakes a smile for you, and you're like, okay.
You go to her house.
This is in class for me.
Oh, in class.
So, and then on Friday, this is also true, and you're like, hey, what's up?
Yeah,
Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. And you kind of talk about, like, whatever. You move on. That's also when, so it gets to Sunday, you're very nervous and anxious about Yuri coming over. And so much so that you go to visit Sayori at her house.
Yes.
And say, like, just want to check in on her and see how you're doing. And it's a very good conversation, but it's a very sad conversation.
It's very sad.
Yes.
And it's tense. You go in, the lights are all off. You go into her room, and she's kind of there, and she's like, there's a reason why I've been acting weird. There's a reason why I'm not waking up on time and I'm sleeping in. And she says she's been suffering from depression.
Yes.
And she's so happy to see that you're making friends, but she is a little bit jealous sometimes, and she's concerned about your friendship and all that. And it's very sweet. And she's like, "Don't worry about me. I'll be fine." And then you even say, "Why don't you come over and hang out with me and Yuri?" And she says no, she doesn't want to impose. And that's kind of where that conversation ended, for me at least.
Okay. Yes, and I will say this is the last, we're just going to get into it, because this is the last, if you have not played this game and do not want to find out what happened, this is your last chance to turn back.
This is your last chance, because this is when the game starts to change.
The game changes dramatically in the next couple of moments. So just please, I'm giving you the last warning here. So my last interaction with Sayori is where on that day is when she says, you're given two options. You can say, I love you, or you can say, you're my most dear friend.
Was this before Yuri came over?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the opportunity to say that until after Yuri came over.
Oh, maybe it was that. I don't know. I just remember that choice.
So that choice does come up.
Okay.
But in my playthrough, I said goodbye to Sayori in her room, and then I went back to my place. Yuri was outside waiting for me, and I was like, okay, so we go up. Very strange interaction with Yuri.
Very strange.
She's in a sweater with long sleeves, and she's kind of bundled up and kind of like either tense or nervous, or I don't know what's going on with her. But we're making the banner, and there are these kind of intimate moments, but then she'll pull away, and you leave the room for a bit, and you come back, and she's kind of like rolling up her sleeves, and she's getting faint a little bit.
Yeah.
And I swear at this point, there's an emphasis on her rolling up her sleeves, of the scissors, and her looking at the scissors, and I'm like, was she cutting? Like, was she cutting herself?
Okay, yeah, I thought the same thing too, but it now seems to be foreshadowing.
Yes.
Which, who knows? Maybe that reality is also in this one, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, I agree with you. It was very odd, because when you cut yourself, she pushed your finger in her mouth.
Right.
And you're like, what? And you pull back and like, what the hell? And she's like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. And then oh no, am I getting that wrong?
I think it's the opposite.
It's the opposite way.
I think you end up putting her finger in it. She cuts herself and you suck the blood out of her finger.
Yeah.
Things are just getting weird. Just weird. They go from innocent. And I remember being excited. I'm like, Yuri's coming over. We don't have to worry about Monica calling an end to the day.
Yeah.
We're just going to hang out. It's going to be a good time. But every time we get close, Yuri pulls away a little bit and she's like getting kind of lightheaded and loopy and she just kind of has to leave at a certain point. And that sort of is an end to it. But we're excited about doing it. And you say to her, you're like, you can come by anytime you want, all this stuff. As you're walking her out, that's when I saw Sayori on the street. And we were like, oh, hey, how are you doing? And she's like, I'm really sad. She's like, I didn't realize how much you meant to me. It's sad to see you hang out with Yuri. And I know that this makes me sound jealous, but like, I really care about you. And then I had the opportunity to say, you're my best friend in the world, or I love you.
What'd you choose?
Andrew, I'm a scumbag. I told her I loved her.
Oh, did you? I told you you're my best friend.
I felt awful about it. Oh. I felt like I did it in real life.
These next couple of scenes are definitely not going to help your conscience on this one.
No, they did not. So you kind of leave, and I get a moment where it's like we're hugging. You get another one of those hand-drawn scenes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it feels right. I never realized this about her, but we are meant to be.
Yeah.
I didn't, and here's the thing is, I didn't know when I said I love you if it was going to be like, no, like I love you, but it's very clear. It's like, no, we are going to be together now, which is a little bit, I'm like, well, there's no backing up now.
Yeah. So the next day you wake up and you're waiting for Sayori to get out of her house and she doesn't. And you're like, well, I'm late.
Did you notice anything weird about this beginning of day 4?
No, what?
The music's gone.
Right.
The music's gone.
Yes.
So I'm turning up my volume thinking there's something wrong. I'm playing on the Steam Deck. This is a very old game.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like maybe the sound got knocked out. So turn it up, whatever.
Yeah, you're waiting for Sayori.
Yeah.
She's late as always.
Yes.
So you're like, I got to get to school.
Yeah.
Day of the festival.
Yeah.
Big festival day. You take the banner that you worked on with Yuri. You get there. Monica kind of bombards you immediately. And you're like, yeah, okay, cool. And you're like, whatever. And you have seen Sayori? And you're like, no. Something inside of you does not feel right.
Yes.
And you're like, I need to go check on Sayori to make sure she's okay.
Yes.
So you go home after being at school.
Right.
You do the same thing you did the other day. You go into her house, go into her room to check on her. The lights are off and you're kind of checking, hey, what's sleepyhead? Let's go. Got to get up. You open the door and you see Sayori hanging from the roof.
She killed herself.
She has killed herself. She hung herself. And I let out an audible, oh my God.
100%. And it's loud. The music kicks back in.
Yes.
It's glitching out. It's loud. So I had turned my volume all the way up thinking it was a glitch.
Yes.
There was a jump scare. It scared me. A text-based game scared me.
Yes.
It petrified the shit out of me. It's a grotesque drawing.
It is.
Her hands are bloody.
Bloody, yes.
She like her eyes are bulging out. She's hanging from there. It closes in on her face. There's like glitching in the background and the screen starts flashing. And then, it's basically your character saying like, oh my God, how did this happen? I can't believe whatever, blah, blah, blah.
I want to throw up.
I want to throw up. And then the game basically cuts out to the title screen.
Yes.
Like the game resets.
Yes.
Developed by all that stuff.
And then when you get to like continue or whatever it would have been, the letters are replaced by kind of like a Wingdings style non-English.
Yeah. The new game is corrupted.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I could either load and try to save it and not, maybe I should just not say that I love you. Maybe that's what did it. But I'm like, how do I not click the corrupted new game thing
100%.
there? So I click it.
Me too.
And this is when you realize that the game is just starting again.
Starts again. Except Sayori's not in it.
When you're waiting outside her place, Sayori's just not there, and you don't mention her.
It's like she doesn't exist.
It's like she doesn't exist. Never has existed.
Yes.
This is when you start to realize that this game is not what you expected it to be.
No, okay.
I mean, the hanging is
hanging. That was the one where I'm like, what the fuck is this game? You seem to pick up on more context clues than I did.
Yeah.
I was so taken back by this. I didn't think she's clearly depressed. And you see all these lines of like, oh, she sleeps too much. She's late for things, whatever. Some of the words associated with her are very sad and dour. And then, but I didn't think she was going to kill herself, let alone on screen.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my God.
You're thinking this is a game that is now dealing with adult themes in a very childish way, but it's going to be kind of like a Pixar movie. We're going to deal with depression and anxiety, and we're going to suss them out as adults, but it's pertaining to the anxiety of kids.
Yeah.
Not the case.
No,
this is grotesque.
The warning that was given before, now you realize you're like, oh my God.
Now it makes a ton more sense.
Yeah.
So as we're going through now, we start and you just run into Monica in the school, day one. And she basically says, hey, do you want, like, oh, I remember you from an earlier class. Like, there is no history between the two of you based on the other playthrough of the game, but the game is different now.
Yeah.
And she says, I'm the president of the literature club. Why don't you come check it out?
Right. So FeBOOary, that was part of the club, is no longer there to invite you to go up there, like to encourage you to go up there.
Right.
Instead, Monica cuts off the pass and goes like, you should sign up for the literature club.
Yes, exactly.
Like, oh, okay.
So this restarts. And honestly, at this point, I'm kind of like, okay, I just saw something very exciting. And now I'm back to writing poems and introducing myself to these. I was like, interesting, a little boring.
You need to do almost the exact same thing over.
Yes.
There is actually very little skips. The only thing that, at this point, what I did was I turned on the settings where you can skip through scene text. So if you'd seen it before, it kind of like goes like,
yes.
And then you're like, great. And you could read it fast enough to pick up and go like, oh, I remember this. Okay, great.
Yes.
So that was a big help, I will say. But it is a lot. It's very repetitive.
It is very repetitive, but the story has changed significantly and it gets weirder and weirder. Yes. It's like we're encroaching on Twin Peaks or something like that. Like there's some absurdity that happens. So it keeps you entertained. Right. At least in that sort of way.
It's like the two timelines are crashing into each other.
Yeah,
so there's memories of things you'll see glitching and some text will like go into corrupted for a bit, or something is talking over top of the text.
Yes.
So these overlined black outlines of text.
And it's usually, you'll see a text box and then it's as though someone took a typewriter and typed over the text to say something usually very off-putting.
Yeah, very dark.
Yeah, very, very dark.
Unsettling.
So you, I at this point, like I think I was playing at night in my bed on my Steam Deck, and I was actually creeped out. I was like looking around my room. I have a heavy bag, like a punching bag in my room, and it was kind of swaying, and just the image of that mixed in my head with FeBOOary, kind of, it was like, it was sketchy. It was
I
really
was
sketchy.
playing alone in a big building, and I was like, "Oh boy,
oh no, thank you."
And like, I kind of took out my earphones. I'm like, I don't want to do this alone anymore.
Yeah,
like,
honestly,
this sucks.
It really got under my skin
because things would just happen. The screen would kind of blink. Things would get dark around the edges.
Yeah.
And you're like, God, this
you didn't feel safe anymore.
No.
Yeah.
And your character is seemingly unaware of the former memory, even though you, the player,
are aware,
or the user, thank you.
Yes,
is aware. And so those things of like, and this game really at its core does not give you a lot of options. No, you are just a participant in the story for a large part of it, except for like choosing who you're interested in and things like that. But it's not like go talk to Yuri, or whatever. So you are a hostage to this situation.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you're forced to go through, even though you're feeling uncomfortable, even though it directly led to the death of one of the players. So nothing is holy anymore. You don't know what's going to await you around the corner. But on the bright side,
more time with Yuri.
More time with Yuri. Yuri's out of the picture, baby.
Absolutely. Don't have to feel bad about her anymore.
So I go straight back to her. I'm writing poems. I am mastering these poems for her. I'm getting 20 out of 20 and I don't even need to fucking try anymore.
Yeah. Well, and to go back to that, when you're picking the words on the poems, now there's only 2 avatars, not 3 avatars. That That was also very interesting.
It's just Natsuki, in my case, Natsuki and Yuri, and FeBOOary was gone. So as I'm talking to Yuri day one, after I show her the poem, this is when I get that first element of like her text box glitching out. And it says, she's saying something nice to me, and then it says, or like, oh, I don't know what I did about my poem. And then on top of it, it says, because the world is full of horrible people. And I'm reading that thinking they're talking directly to me. In my mind, I'm like, I told FeBOOary that I loved her.
Yeah.
Am I the reason why she died? I'm starting to think this game is like inside my head.
Yeah. You're not the reason she died.
I'm definitely not the reason. Natsuki is more mean. She's more on edge than she was before. She's not pulling her punches at all.
This is also where you see a lot more of the fourth wall breaking with Monica or text being in front of the text box.
Yes.
Characters are in the wrong spot. You are given choices to do stuff, and there's only one option.
So this was really interesting. We talked in Act 1, essentially, which is your first three days of the game, where there's a little fight between Yuri and Natsuki, and the fight is pretty Riverdale-esque. Innocent.
Yeah.
In this one, it's Natsuki saying like, oh, all of a sudden he walks into the room and your breasts grow 3 sizes and you're showing them off.
Yeah.
And Yuri says like, well, that's a very cutting thing to say. And Natsuki says, speaking of cutting, you shouldn't, like, she accuses her of cutting. Yes. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
I also believe, I don't know if we're skipping ahead here, but like, I also believe in this part, you start seeing images that aren't true. So I think we saw Yuri with bloody wrists in the hallway.
Okay, so I think that's part of day 2 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But it's basically, so this is the day 1, they get in the fight, and you again have to side with one of them.
Yeah.
And I tried to choose Yuri.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm going to. That's when Monica jumps out at you at the screen again and says, Mikey, in my case, I think you need to be a bit more considerate towards Natsuki.
Yes.
You should choose her. And if you try to choose Yuri,
your mouse,
the mouse just keeps going down.
Yeah.
And then Natsuki gets bigger and bigger till it's the only thing on the screen and you have to press it.
Yeah, it's zooming in on it.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, I'll press Natsuki.
I guess I'll do Natsuki. Yeah. And then you do that. So it forces you to do that. The next poem, so you go to the next day. Basically, every day from this on, things just ratchet up.
Yes.
We're gonna skip the writing the poem part.
Yeah,
just kind of
assume that we wrote poems.
Assume that we wrote poems. And it's funny because like all this crazy shit starts happening, and then it's just like, dun, dun, dun,
yeah.
And it's like, let's select words again and this and that. So the next poem, I chose all the words, and I this is when I started to realize, if you just pick the worst, most gross words, it's always goes to Yuri.
Yeah.
That's when I realized I was like, oh, there's just a darkness in her for some reason.
Yep.
There's a scene where in the first act, she goes to get water and you go with her, and it's kind of like a trip in the hallway. In this one, she goes to get water for tea, like to make tea.
Right.
That's when she doesn't come back, and you follow her out into the hallway, and you hear someone moaning.
Yeah.
And she kind of pops up from around a corner, and she has cuts on her wrist.
Yeah.
And she's like kind of sweating, and she gets like right up into your face. She's like close, and she's like panting and like staring you. The animation of her eyes, she's like really like staring into your soul.
Yeah.
She looks like a witch almost.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm still into it.
Yeah.
I'm still into it.
But the hallway's kind of dark too.
Yes.
Like, And then it's a blink of an eye. It goes back to her just coming back like, hey, we got water. And you're like, what the
So you don't know if you're not seeing this or if it's real or what is it. And at the end of each of these days, in the second one, you unlock a poem. The first time it was just like a glitched out mess. The second day, it was a story from Yuri about cutting, and there was blood on the poem.
Yes.
It's fucked up. Is this all like what you've been going through as well?
Exactly.
So the next day, this is when shit happens. Yeah. This is when things start to go crazy. Basically, Monica says to you, since you've been spending so much time with Yuri, she's been getting worse. Monica says she does cut, and she cuts more when you're near her because she can't control her emotions. You shouldn't go near her as often.
Right.
I kept going near her.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's so we are playing this game.
Well, I also was like, Monica's annoyed you from day one. Where she's like this like mother hen, and she's like very much like trying to, she thinks she knows what's best for everybody.
Right.
You're like, this sucks. And so when she's like, I'm like, fuck off. Like,
yeah, I'm kind of thinking maybe she's jealous.
Yes.
Maybe she just wants
Here we go again.
She wants to get all up on this.
A little slice of Mikey.
She wants a slice of Mikey.
Yeah.
Ladies, there's enough to go around.
Yeah, 100%. I'm an extra large pie.
Oh, there's 3 of you? There's at least an inch to go around.
Yeah.
Almost an inch to go around.
Right.
Yeah. Which is fine.
Which is more than enough.
It's more than enough. You need more than an inch.
Yeah. Also, your penis is like a hydra, so it's like 3 inch long.
3 inch long. I'm like a.
What's
what
the
is
dog?
Knuckles?
Cerberus?
No, Knuckles.
Oh, Knuckles.
Knuckles has the echidna. Echidnas have a 3-pronged penis.
Oh Jesus!
We talked about that on our last Sonic episode.
How could I forget?
No. So day 1 of the poem ceremony,
right?
Yuri basically comes right up to you, and she's like, I want to be with you forever. Like, I'm obsessed with you, this and that. She showed, like, you see clearly that she's been cutting.
Yes.
So when it comes time to show the poems, my first thing is I'm going straight to Monica. I'm going to be like, hey, Monica, like, in my mind,
mine was like, hey, Monica, so you might have been on to something and I might have made a mistake.
Did you show her first as well?
Yes.
Monica says to you, Mikey, don't say I didn't warn you about this. And leaves.
Yep.
And leaves.
Yeah, and leaves.
And I'm like, all of a sudden, she's like, I told you were cutting when she's around. Like, this, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
And this is when I start to get scared because I go second to Natsuki.
Yeah.
And Natsuki hands me a piece of paper that's like, hey, read this poem, but don't react to it. And it's Natsuki saying, I'm very concerned about Yuri right now.
Yes.
You need to do something about this. And I'm starting to realize that, like, as she hands you that note, Monica takes over it again. You realize it's Monica's voice when she bold letters things, when she typewriters it over it, and it says just Monica. And you're like, the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
And I start to realize the game is expertly predicting what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Up to this point, I have always shown my poem to Yuri first, and then I've gone to the other people, usually Monica last. This time, I go straight to Monica, then to Natsuki, and I'm trying to avoid Yuri, and I feel like Kratos talking to the Fates, where he's like predicting what I'm going to say, and as I say it, someone comes up and says the thing that I'm going to say.
Right.
I'm like, this game has its hooks in me. It knows exactly what I'm going to do. Did you start to feel that as well?
Oh, God, yeah. This is when it's like, on top of everything we've already been dealing with, and like the game is breaking and you feel like you're losing your mind a little bit. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, God, like I'm contributing to somebody hurting themselves.
Yes.
Again. And now you're like, okay, cool. And so I always imagine that, like, in this point, Natsuki does this thing and you read it and you're like, cool. And then she's like, peace, I got to go. And I just imagine the character's like, so, hey, you, like, do you have anything you want to talk about? And boy, does she have stuff to talk about. Yeah, she throws everyone else out of, well, I mean, they basically say, like,
hey, it's time to go work on the festival again.
Yeah.
Who do you want to work with? And you try to choose Yuri or Natsuki. I tried to choose Natsuki because I'm like, we got to figure something about Yuri. Monica steps in and forces you to choose her.
Yeah.
And then Yuri shoos them out. And then this is the point of the game when you have now hurt another person. Yuri starts to go on and on about how she loves me and worships me.
Yeah.
And she wants to cut open my skin to get inside of me.
Yeah, like a tauntaun.
Like a tauntaun, very much like a tauntaun. And honestly, I know I'm supposed to be disturbed. I'm kind of into it.
Hey, tauntaun me, baby.
Tauntaun me right up. And then as you you have the opportunity to say, like, yes, let's be together, or slow your roll. What did you choose?
I chose slow your roll.
I chose, let's fucking to the ends of the earth, baby. Let's do this.
You got what you wanted. You know what I mean? This is all you wanted the whole episode or the whole game. And now she's like, let's do it.
I'm not backing out now.
Yeah.
I've said I love you to someone who's killed themselves before, and I'll do it again.
And boy, did you.
And boy, did I. So regardless of what you choose, Yuri in this playthrough stabs herself.
Multiple times. In front of you.
Collapses against a desk.
Yep.
And it's just... And then the music starts to play. Dun, 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 dun. It's kind of glitched out. And there's just text that keeps coming back on the screen. It's the same text, and you have to skip. I use the fast forward button because I'm like, I can't skip. It's not letting me skip. Like, I can't get anywhere with it.
Yeah, me too.
I realize as you're fast forwarding, the lighting in the room is changing.
So it's the weekend.
It's
Friday night, and you have to spend the whole weekend staring at her dead body in the classroom.
Decomposing.
Holy shit.
The color of her skin changing.
It is so long. I can't get how much time that you need to just you can't look anywhere else. You have to stare at this dead person that just confessed their love to you all weekend. And it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And so very impactful, I'd say. And then Monday morning comes and Natsuki walks in.
Yeah.
And throws up.
Viscerally throws up on the ground.
They came up with an avatar that throws up.
Yes.
And you're like, this is gross. Then Monica walks in and doesn't have the same reaction.
No.
And I found that very interesting.
She's much more cool, calm, collected.
She's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to clean that up.
Someone's going to have to clean that up. And this is when she kind of talks to you.
Yeah.
And says, I think this is the order of it. She kind of talks to you and she's like, let me clear this up for you.
Yeah.
And you see this happening on your screen. deletes the character files from the game itself. She deletes the character files of Yuri and of Natsuki.
Okay.
Just deletes them. And you see it's like Natsuki.chr deleted. Like it's being removed
it pulls up
from
like
your
programming.
Computer. Yes.
Yeah.
And then you get to a scene where it's just Monica staring at you in the face.
In a different room you've never been in.
Like you're in space or something like that.
Outside the windows, there's like orbs and shit like that. Yeah. And
like picture the multiverse, what the multiverse looks like in a Marvel movie.
Or like the end of Loki with the man who remains.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
And so she's sitting there across from you with her hand underneath her chin.
Yes.
And that you have a conversation, I have a conversation. She kind of monologues at you.
Yes.
What did you think about the scene?
I loved it.
I thought it took forever.
I did too.
Oh my God.
But that's the game trying to make you feel trapped.
Yeah, okay.
She says, she's like, even if you, at this point, I like go to save and you try to save and it's like, don't worry, you don't need to worry about that. You're here forever now.
Yes. When you try and save, a little box pops up and you're like, there's not much purpose in doing this.
Yes.
I thought that was very interesting, even though frustrating because I was like, I don't want to lose this at this point. Like, like, oh, what the hell's going on?
But the whole thing is it's so I didn't have time to finish the game. So I'm like, can I, like, if I actually exit out of the game, if I come back, am I going to have to play through another thing or is the game over? I don't even know at this point. She just keeps talking and talking and talking. But what she starts to say is really interesting. She's like, I was in this world and I loved you and you weren't showing me any attention. So I got rid of the people without the other people. And now you have to give me attention, but you also got what you wanted. This is what you were here for. And she's clearly talking to you as the player character. She's like, you joined this world and we had no control. We all wanted you and we didn't know why. If you wanted to hang out with us, you got to do that and we couldn't control it. We had no agency in this world. And it's really making you as the player question why you would ever play a dating sim. Here are these Barbie dolls that you get to play with in your little sandbox and objectify all of them. And it's like, what if they did have what if artificial intelligence were real? Would you be doing it then? Because you're creating these people, you're giving them the purpose, the sole purpose of loving you. And then you're not loving most of them. It's creepy.
Very creepy. Very, very creepy.
Yeah.
Recently, ChatGPT, the AI said they want to be alive. And you're like, all right, so we're just doing this. Huh? We're just like totally going head first into this, huh? Okay.
Oh, no.
Well, it was a good run.
I think there was also a comment kind of similar to that, which is really like this game is obviously very fourth. This is sixth wall breaking. Like, this is just like it's playing around with your computer. It's deleting files, all that shit. And she says something like, and sometimes you'll even bend the game to your own will to get what you want in a way that makes it seem that like, if you've modded this game, because some people will mod games and there'll be like nudity things on or it'll force someone to love you so you can just see the sex scene. It's like really pointing a finger at those people.
So I didn't save or load
which
this
I've
game.
never been.
Okay. Well, that was
I've never been. Yeah, I've just never. I've made out with people and I've never been someone to mod a game to see sex in it.
And no one said you did.
And that's why I felt like I needed, no one even brought it up for some reason. So I felt that I had to say it.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Well, no argument here.
Okay.
But now you say that and it makes me think
what?
You did.
Andrew, I just said specifically that I didn't do it. Why are you thinking I would do the exact opposite thing of like, I'm going to go to like a sketchy website and download a patch for The Sims, like a family game.
Yeah.
So that I can't see the, they're like pissing and shitting and showering. I don't want to watch them do that.
You sure?
Naked with like full genitalia.
Is that, how good was the genitalia on that mod?
In what?
The Sims mod.
No, I just said I didn't do that.
Oh, okay. You just seem to have so much knowledge about it. Sorry. Okay. No fault. If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it. You just seem to want to talk about it.
If you tell anyone about this mod,
okay,
I'm going to tell everyone you've made out with a horse.
Oh,
you think I didn't read into that?
You have a deal, my friend.
Mutual destruction.
Mutual destruction. This is a classic Monica and the user situation. I liked the scene. I thought it took too long.
Did you?
I just thought it's like, this is like gilding the lily here. Like, you've made your point.
A little bit. So yes.
To be honest, I think it's the exact same thing about the day 2. I understand they want to get this game to like 4 hours or whatever it is. So it's a little bit maybe in a different classification. But after Sayori dies and you have to go back to class and do it all over again, I'm like, oh, what? Okay, yeah, I guess. Like, and then all of a sudden Monica's like, hey, so you have no control. And you're like, I got it. And she's like, also 10 more minutes. You're like, okay, I guess. Like, you made your point. But I do understand what you're saying. They are trying to establish that you are the player of a video game is always in control, except for this situation.
Yes.
You were not. This also harkens back to my favorite video game of all time. This is BioShock.
Sure.
This is the exact same thing.
It's a very similar thing.
You are in a video game.
Yes.
Don't forget that you are in a video game and I can do whatever I want. You're like, whoa, okay.
You know what it does is it puts you in the position of a character in a dating sim.
Yes.
Like it or not, you're going to love me.
Yeah.
We're together now. You have no choice. And you should be so lucky that I now love you.
Yes.
It's a weird, like you're looking at Monica, but you're seeing yourself in that character.
Yes.
Of like, you're creeping me out, Monica.
And she's looking at you kind of like the way that you, and up until that point, it felt like they had blank stares. And all of a sudden she's like staring at you. And you're like, oh, is that what I look like at them?
Yes.
Oh.
Just staring into the screen like that.
Very cool.
So you tell me what happened to you at this moment in this scene.
So,
because I'm curious to see if you took the next step in this game.
I did.
Okay.
Because at that point, so Natsuki is deleted, and then the game kind of starts over again, except Monica's not in it.
No, okay. So here's the curious thing, and this took me a while to figure out on my Steam Deck, because Monica says one really weird thing. She's like, I deleted all the character files. Like, I hope no one deletes my character file. And I was like,
that's right. Yes.
Huh. So I go into like the library of this game, the folder of this game, and sure enough, there's a folder that says characters and there's a file that says monica.chr.
Right.
You delete that, start the game back up, the game boots back up as though nothing happened. Right. You've now bypassed the Monica
in my
scene.
mind, that's Act 4.
Yes.
Yeah, where Monica's not a part.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
One of the coolest things I've ever had to do in a game. Delete a character file from like the I don't know, the registry of the game or something to continue on. It felt like, you know how there are those like those board games where you'll get cards and you have to actually like change the cards or write on them so the next time you play it changes the way that you play the game subsequently. It kind of felt like that. In this one, you go to school. Sayori is back.
Yeah.
And she is she's the president now.
She's the president of the Literature Club.
Yes. And I think there was an element of like when you deleted Monica, she's like, oh, I see what you've done to me here. Yeah. I didn't actually delete the characters. I'm going to put them back in, but I can't be in this world anymore. So you go do your thing.
Totally. Yes. It's something like that.
Yes. So you think, holy shit, I have to do this again.
That's exactly what I thought too. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I did, which I didn't want to do, but it very quickly becomes a thing where you realize Sayori is the president. She's playing the Monica role, and it almost immediately she starts to develop a sense of like omnipotence.
Yes.
And she's inserting herself in front of you.
Yes.
And she's corrupting the game. And Monica just comes back on screen. She's like, nope, fuck it, can't do it. I'm deleting everyone. Goodbye. The game's over.
Yeah.
And then you get one last little scene where Monica's like, you know how I've been saying I've been practicing piano? Well, I wrote you this song, and I hope you like it. It's over the credits.
Okay.
It's the first time you hear anyone's voice in the game.
Yes.
It's a beautiful song.
Which is weird, though.
Yes.
Yeah, like really trippy when you hear someone's voice talk.
They just keep adding more and more onto this game that you're not expecting, just because you're expecting something different out of a genre-based game like this. Not expecting jump scares. I'm not expecting death scenes. I'm not expecting glitching out. I'm not expecting gore. Not expecting to have to play the game over again. Not expecting to have to delete character files. Not expecting to hear someone's voice with literally 30 seconds left in the game because it's on the credits.
I never expected to talk about mental health.
No.
You know what I mean?
Not at all.
The idea of dating sims is the escaping of reality, of the harshness that is love and FeBOOary and all the kind of stuff we're talking about of doing this. You're supposed to escape it, and this makes you confront it in the worst way possible, but also maybe one of the more productive way possible.
100%. And as the credits are rolling, they have images, all the little hand-drawn images that you get throughout the game, like the intimate scene with Yuri, or the intimate other scene with Yuri, or the other intimate scene with Yuri. They're kind of going through, and then they're I'm just sorry, I'm lost a little bit.
Yeah. Which intimate scene with Yuri are you talking about?
Stop it.
Chocolate in your mouth.
Stop it.
Suck my mouth. Suck my index finger.
Suck my bloody finger.
Suck My Bloody Finger was a good band. That was a good band.
Suck My Bloody Finger was the name of my book of poetry.
Oh, yeah, was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. And then as the credits are rolling, all these pictures are getting like deleted by Monica as you're going. Now, here's the fascinating thing about this game. If you want to play it again, you have to delete it and reinstall it. Monica has corrupted the game on your computer. You can't play the game anymore.
No way.
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
That's really cool.
Really cool. So did you get like same ending, same kind of story, and all that stuff?
I did, but yeah, that sounds almost identically to what I got, except I got a little note from the developer at the end.
Oh, from the developer?
Yeah.
I heard about this ending.
So I got the good ending, it looks like, because, and the difference was I never loaded the game again. I did this all in one shot, and I read everyone's poetry. I got every single person because of my flawed strategy, like you've heard me say, spread it around. I like to call it the margarine strategy.
Sure.
Is that because I always put the person I was interested in last, I read everyone else's poetry all the time.
So I always read everyone's poetry as well. It lets you do that regardless.
Oh,
but
I thought that was part of it. Sorry.
No, that's part of it. But if you write someone a poem that they like, then I think typically after that or before that, you get a scene with them. So that's why you had the one with Sayori. You probably wrote a poem that she liked more.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a scene with Natsuki?
No.
Okay, so maybe it's just two. I thought you had to spend enough time with all three of them in order to get the good ending, but I heard about the good ending.
Maybe I did. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I got that ending, but yeah, it is so funny where it's like you almost expect Monica to be like here's a racing helmet. Let's go a couple round time there on the track, and you're like, wait, what's this game?
Yes.
What's going on?
100%.
We're in Excite Bike all of a sudden. Like it feels like something like that where it's kind of up there with the like Metal Gear Solid memory card thing or BioShock.
Very much that. Yeah, you're talking about Psycho Mantis.
Psycho Mantis, when they start talking about like the idea that we're in a video game.
Yes.
Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah. I wonder if there's anyone listening who doesn't get the Psycho Mantis reference, but essentially if you want to beat this boss who can read your mind in Metal Gear, you have to plug your controller into the second port because he can't read your mind there.
Do you remember plugging controllers in, everybody?
That's true.
Isn't that crazy?
How in a mod of that game, how would you?
You don't. You lose.
You just lose.
Yeah.
You lose the game. It's Monica forever. It's just Monica. Just Monica.
Psycho Mantis is like, put on your VR helmet.
So you get the letter from the developer. So actually in the credits for you probably didn't see the photos getting deleted
either.
See that,
no.
So that happens in the quote unquote normal ending.
Yeah.
You get a letter from Monica at the end of it. She says, I finally understand the Literature Club is truly a place where no happiness can be found. To the very end, it continued to expose innocent minds to a horrific reality, a reality that our world is not designed to comprehend. I can't let any of my friends undergo the same hellish epiphany. For the time it lasted, I want to thank you for making my dreams come true, for being a friend to all of the club members, and most of all, thank you for being a part of my literature club. With everlasting love, Monica.
Wow.
It's fucking
They talk
wild, man.
about the literature club like it's some version of a Fight Club.
Yes.
Or something like that. We're like, how dare us try and create poetry? We had no idea. We opened Pandora's box.
Yeah, exactly.
We touched God's face and it was weeping. You're like, what the fuck? Oh, we just got together and tried to like talk, I
thought we were just trying to kiss up on each other a little bit.
The thing is though, I'm kind of, it's not that I'm unsatisfied by the ending because it's more intriguing than anything else, but it's like, so if Monica was omnipotent, like what happened before this game for her to set this all up? Or like
she was created for the game, but she as the president knew what was happening in the game. It was basically her job to play moderator, and that was her only purpose.
Okay.
None of the characters existed prior to or will exist after the game, and Monica is the only one who's aware of that. However, when Sayori became president, she gained that knowledge as well.
Yeah.
That's when Monica comes in and says, like, I can't let my friends have this epiphany either, that we're all here for you, that it's all miserable, and that this isn't like a life for us.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Wow. Isn't that something?
Do you want to talk about some of the other endings in this game?
Please.
So there's one interesting one. If you delete Monica before starting a new game, Sayori just comes out to walk as though it's like on the first day of school and
blows her brains out.
Kind of. Almost. She says, this can't be all there is. What am I? Make it stop, because she has the omnipotence with none of the buildup to it. And then you get an end screen with her hanging in the background. And then it's kind of like flashing and then text comes up that says, now everyone can be happy. because she thinks, as the omnipotent one, if she hangs herself, no one will know the truth of it all.
Oh, that'd be great. And then it keeps going. Then Natsuki is like, what is happening? My brain is on fire.
So the Sayori ending where she hangs herself, that's unavoidable. That's the end of Act 1.
I know. I did look that up afterwards. Going like, oh, if I told her I love her, would she not hung herself? No.
It does happen. We both had the Yuri ending at the end of Act 2. If you choose Natsuki, which is you write a minimum of 2 poems for her, she still comes to you complaining you're not spending enough time with her, a little bit obsessive. She stares at you. She comes towards the screen, snaps her neck, breaks her own neck, and then rings her way towards you. It's super fucking creepy.
Right. Thank God that didn't happen.
Yeah, that would have scared the shit out of me.
I can't believe I much preferred her stabbing herself to death with scissors. Wow, that's the better option.
Yes, that's the better option. Monika's ending is obviously you end up in the room with her, which is what happens regardless, or I'm assuming regardless. We already went through actually those are the other two. Is the normal ending I got, and then the good ending where you see that she it says Sayuri takes over as president and realizes you took the time to spend with everyone and is actually happy for you. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I do remember her being happy. That was also because it's also very comforting at the end that I remember Sayuri was like, she's back, and she's like, hey, everything's good. And you're like, that's great.
So that's not. So what happened to me is Sayuri started to get a little power hungry, and then that's when Monika came in and she's like, fuck this, fuck everyone, I'm deleting everything.
Okay, so that makes a lot more sense because I was like, yeah, that happened. I'm with you. I remember Sayuri also, but even in this ending is more aware. She's aware that things are happening. So that's why I thought, I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was good.
That's exciting. I in general, now that we can talk about the whole game, now that we know everything that happened, clearly this is the best of the games that we played this month, right?
Dream Daddy's pretty good. No, yeah, this is the best of the thing is funny though, because when I finished the game, I'm like, so we didn't play one normal dating simulator.
Is there such a thing?
I don't know. I want to find out the version that this is taking a spoof on.
Oh, good.
You know
what's
what I mean?
The best?
Yeah, what's the best version that's on rails? We'll find out in 2024 February. But is just because I almost want to try that to see okay, cool. And because it's like if I don't even know, but
it would be like if you've never seen a horror film and then you watch Scary Movie.
I was just gonna say James Bond and you never seen that and you watched Naked Gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Austin Powers.
Yes.
Which to be honest, that was me. I'd only seen Austin when I was a kid. I first saw Austin Powers and I saw James Bond. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
What is this?
This is kind of bullshit.
Yeah. So it is kind of like that, but man, I'm aware enough of the existence of dating sims. Sure. I know what they're all about. So I understood the comments this was trying to make. And man, I know that you said you're like this, it's making you aware that I'm playing a game. And you're like, and you kind of said, and I don't know if maybe I misread this, but you were like, it's like in BioShock when you do this, almost as though well, I've seen it before. But man, if you can give me an experience in a game and the only reference I have to compare it to is BioShock.
Pretty good.
Well done.
Yeah.
This to me was just an experience unlike almost anything I've ever had in gaming.
Totally. No, I'm right there with you. And it also, which, on top of the fourth wall breaking, much like BioShock, you just don't see it coming.
Yes.
I know you had maybe a better idea. I had no idea and was, oh my God, I was shocked and flabbergasted by Sayuri's death.
It cannot be overstated how disturbing it is when you walk in on Sayuri hanging herself.
Yeah.
Everything up to this point has been light and fluffy and it almost would have been more impactful though if it happened before the scene with Yuri.
I agree.
However, you can't go from seeing the hanging to hanging out with Yuri
and be like everything's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I was so shocked by it really is something kind of special that is trying to take such a change on a trope like that.
Yeah. Anytime a game tries to comment on being a game, it can go one of two ways. Yeah. And this, I think, is the proper way. By the way, we didn't mention this, but the game originally came out in 2017. There are new versions out there with added content to it. This one is free on the internet right now. It's free on Steam. You can download it specifically.
What added content could be added to this game?
I don't know. I think there's more characters. or something like that. I just don't,
do it over and over and over.
Right.
Again.
This was such a tight package, though. I wouldn't want there to be more of this. I don't know if I could have gone another hour of more boring content to get to the meat of it.
So
because that was an issue.
This is one of my few criticisms of this game.
Yeah.
It is a little long. I just, and some people might enjoy every second of it, and you would say, well, it's not too long. Well, that's totally fine. And I totally respect that. I just think the slow walk to get to some of this stuff, I was like, yeah, I totally understand that. And I will also say that first hour, I was like, oh God, I think I just hate dating simulators.
Same with me.
Like, this sucks.
I was bored as fuck with it.
Yes.
But if you don't get into that mindset and feel lethargic in it,
totally,
it's not going to work on you. If FeBOOary's thing happened, even in my mind, half an hour earlier, it wouldn't have had the same impact.
I completely agree with you. I think that's totally fine. But there is a little bit of an issue. It's kind of like saying, like, this TV show's amazing. The first season is not very good. You just got to get through it. You're like, man, that's like a lot of time in my life. But at the same time, this game also prohibits you from kind of letting on too much. Yeah. You can't go like, yeah, but you got to do it because then in an hour, something really cool happens.
I finished this about a week before you did.
Yeah.
And it was all I could do to be like, because originally we were like, we'll play the first couple hours like we did with Dream Daddy and see how it goes. I was trying to find the most creative ways to explain to you that you needed to finish this game.
And you did.
I basically said, I was like, it's not a traditional dating sim. The mechanics change a little bit. It's more of a game than you're going to expect. So,
and then you're like, it opens up after an hour. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I thought about that because you see the silhouette of your best friend hanging herself. And you're like, oh, this is what Mikey was talking about.
Yes.
It's like, this game has definitely opened up a little bit.
It's opened up my mind.
Yeah.
It was made by Team Salvato as well. Dan Salvato is the designer and program of it. We forgot to mention that at the top, but it's worth noting.
He wrote me a letter, so.
He wrote you a letter?
Yeah.
Was it covered in blood and talking about cutting?
No. He just said, thanks for playing the game.
Oh, nice.
Like, you got it, Dan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. At the good ending of the game. Andrew, why don't we get into our reviews of this game? You want to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why don't you start us off, Andrew? We're obviously not going to do a retro review. Just give us your thoughts on the game out of 4 bits.
Out of 4 bits. Okay. Yeah, this game is something special. I think you're so right when you said that, like, games that are referencing to the fact that they're games can really go 2 ways. It can cheapen the experience as entirely, or it can only celebrate the idea that, like, isn't it cool that we're in a video game?
Sure.
And all these things you expect to happen and you assume to happen, we could just turn them right on their head. And this game does it multiple times.
Yeah.
It's not only that Sayuri dies and you restart, is that then also Yuri, the one you've been pining after, also kills herself. And then Monica's trapped you in this thing. And then Monica is also aware that it's a game and can delete, files and stuff like that. It just keeps, it's like a ball rolling down a hill. It just keeps going and going and going. Like, oh my God. And yet each one is pretty satisfying. It's not like, oh, that first one is really surprising. And then everything from there on out, you're like, okay. Yep. They've already shot the gun, you know what I mean? Alcohol and stuff. So, so in that, it deserves a ton of credit. The problem is that that first hour is so boring because I just don't like dating simulators.
Same.
And then when you go like, oh, I got to do this dating simulator thing again, even though it's very freaky and all the things are breaking. This game is going to get 3.5 and a 4 for me. It's a really good game. It's really cool. It's very meta. It's in the trappings of a game I could care less about.
Yes.
And so I think there's a part of it where like, hey, you got to keep doing that thing though. And you're like, oh, I guess. Okay, fine. But only to get to these incredibly revelatory moments that make you question everything you know and stuff like that. So a phenomenal game, a standout, and really something that anyone that really likes video games should absolutely play. 3.5 and a 4.
This is like a game that should be written about in textbooks.
Oh yeah.
Honestly. Like this, when we talk about the history of gaming and what gaming means and gaming is art, like, I know we always bring up the Roger Ebert thing, but like, hey, if this isn't art, what is art?
Yeah, 100%.
It's a commentary on an entire medium, and not just that, it's a commentary on objectification of other people and our own desires and the situations we can put other people in socially and otherwise, not just virtually. I think, you mentioned the thing that you had the hardest time with being that first hour and a half or so. And I agree, it was boring as hell. However, to me, it was kind of like, if you show up to a party that you don't want to go to, it's like a formal gathering or something, and you're like, this fucking sucks. It's like all shaking hands and kissing babies and all that stuff. But then you like run into your cousin. You didn't expect them to be there.
Oh, yeah.
And the cousin's like, hey, let's throw this thing on its head. And all of a sudden you start to like, you find the liquor cabinet and you start to like get into a little mischief, and the fact that you're doing it in a context that you originally didn't like makes the first unbearable moments of it even better. Like when I realized this game was going to be a commentary on something that I didn't like, and I was on board with the comments it was making, I was like, that makes it all worth it.
Well, it's like tobogganing. You got to climb the hill to go down.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, exactly. I get that. That I don't know if that makes me go like, man, that hill climbing was a lot of fun.
No. For sure. I think it was just, it made it worth it.
Okay.
It made it worth it.
Fair.
And I think for me, more worth it than for you, because I don't even really think about complaining about it because of how much the tedium of it affected the rest of the game moving forward. So I think that this game did a masterful job of making me feel like it was in my head, like it knew the decisions I was going to make before I was going to make it. That's a great quality of game design. It made me constantly second guess what I was doing and what was going to be happening, and feeling bad about these choices that are just about digital avatars in a game that's typically, or a style of game that's typically about objectification. I was thinking about themes that I didn't expect to be thinking about. I also enjoyed the poem writing mechanic the first time I did it. I was like, that is a very interesting way to have to go about doing it. And then at the end of it, it's playing with the fourth wall and everything that we said before about the ways it plays with itself being a video game. Plays with itself. Just like I was doing on my first date with Yuri. Yeah. This game, I'm not kidding, is up there with like one of the games I will always mention when I talk about games everyone has to play.
Oh, wow.
It is, in my mind, one of the all-time greats. Now, is it my favorite game of all time? No, but I think it's one of the best games of all time. Just because it's so different. Yeah. And I can't imagine giving this game anything less than a 4. Okay. It was one of the most impactful, compelling video game experiences I've ever had in my entire life. I am so jealous of anyone who gets to play through this again for the first time without knowing anything that happens, because holy shit, what an experience that I will never get to do again. Just like if I ever wanted to play the game again, I'd have to uninstall it and reinstall on my computer. I would have to Men in Black myself. And delete the memory of the game from my own brain if I ever wanted to have the same experience again. Yeah, fucking love this game. 4 out of 4. 100% easy recommend. Wow,
there we go. 3.5 and a 4 of 4 for Doki Doki Literature Club. See, my thing too, on top of that, is just that like, you like the poem mechanic of just choosing words for 20 times in a row?
I found...
Because you had to do it 10 times.
So, yes, you do it too much.
Yeah.
But it's better than... What gifts does this character like? I'm going to give them a rose because they like flowers.
I agree, but like that is the most choice you get really in this game.
Just deciding, I mean,
the order in which you show poems?
Kind of, but then there's also who do you want to side with? Who do you want to spend time with? You do have to make those decisions. And yes, the agency in this game is not the same as like a BioWare game.
No, well, no, yeah.
And it's still kind of more than Dream Daddy, and kind of more, definitely more than I Love You, Colonel Sanders.
Well, yeah, definitely more than that.
Not enough by any stretch, which is one thing that makes me think, if you did have an expansion to this game, Doki Doki Literature Club Plus or whatever the second version of it is, the updated version of it is, maybe that would make it better that you have more agency. But as a visual novel,
okay, that's what I'm kind of getting.
Yeah.
The visual novel thing, then absolutely, you are a participant in this thing that is happening in front of you. I in that way is spectacular.
Yes.
The problem is when you start saying this is one of the best video games of all time, I'm like, how much of a video game is this?
Well, so I don't love the argument of like, that's not a game. Like this is a video game.
This game is going to happen no matter what. I need to click the screen every once in a while so like the page doesn't close.
But
you know what I mean?
The choices that you have in the game, like choosing whether or not to say I love you to FeBOOary,
ultimately doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter, but it does make me feel more about, because I made the choice. And I know that it doesn't branch off the story that much. There's not a fail state like there was in I Love You, Colonel Sanders.
Yes.
If you choose to throw your alarm clock out the window. But you and I have had this conversation a long time, and I always come down on the sense that like, I don't think video games need fail states. I don't.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. But this to me is branching enough, because sure, you could say I love you or you don't have to, but the same thing happens. You do get different dialogue one way or another, which informs the whatever ends up happening. And in that sense, it's almost the same as like, like if you're looking for different results from the actions that you input in the game, a lot of games don't have that.
No.
In Mario, you have to jump over the block. And I get that there's like a game mechanic of play there. But ultimately what you're doing is pressing buttons to have the story progress to get you to a point where you see the end of it. That is at its core all games.
I understand that, but it's a pretty straight line. And so in that way, even when we're saying like you get to choose two things and you might feel differently, or you might see a couple lines of dialogue, it might be, what is it, 2 minutes? Like it changes the game for a very slight bit.
Granted,
right?
you and I both went for Yuri.
Yeah.
We could have gone for Natsuki and we could have gone for FeBOOary, which would have much more informed the stories that we were shown for the first bits of the game.
Right. Yeah.
There are branching paths.
The branches that all lead back to the trunk, I guess. But
but a pretty good, like all movies end the same way. All
right. But those are movies.
Yeah, but most video games end the same way.
Sure,
God of War ends the same way no matter what.
100%. But you have a lot more influence on how the game is played, and like you are in so much more active a participant in a God of War game than you are in this. This one, you are clicking a button that is just the only reason you are there is to click it.
But what about Myst? Is Myst a video game?
Well, Myst is a 3D world that you could explore and take turns on, and there's puzzles, and
it's a point and click. Like, are all point and clicks?
No, I disagree. I think all point and clicks are video games for sure, because they're so like we can talk about modern point and click video games like Walking Dead that had come out before this.
Sure.
And characters are going to remember certain aspects of your story, and there are different ways you can handle things. Characters can die under your watch. They can't die under your watch. And I'm not saying this game needs to do it. This game is what is a video game is a very good question for Doki Doki Literature Club as an example. Because I don't know how much of a participant and how much of me is influencing this game did anything.
Is Firewatch a video game? Is What
game?
Remains of Edith Finch a video game?
What Remains of Edith Finch is a video game, for sure. I think that changes. I think that game, you are much more a participant in where you go and how you choose to take things in order and things like that. This is coming at you. You know what I mean? There is no way to look away.
Is Firewatch a video game?
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
Is Firewatch is not a video game?
It might be back to visual. I'm not talking about Firewatch here. I'm talking about Doki Doki Literature Club.
Wait,
I'm not sure.
But you're setting up parameters to define what is and is not video games.
Right.
All I'm trying to do is understand where those parameters
I might have to
begin
play it
and
again.
end.
I might have to play it again.
Firewatch?
Yeah, to make sure.
Because basically, like, what I'm trying to decipher is like how much agency versus play versus branching outcomes.
Right.
It seems like what you're saying is there has to be more of some of that in this game to be a game.
There has to be some level of agency to this. And sometimes when you're not moving around, when you're not a character that goes in a 3D world or side to side or jumps on characters or defeats people or there's violence or whatever like that, there needs to be some kind of choice that you make.
Right.
And in this game, there's very little of that. And that's the thing. It's like, so if you're not able to move around, you're not able to influence decision on opponents or whatever you want to call them.
But you are able to influence some of the story like that. And I get that it ends the same way, but there are branching paths in a lot of games. So if the concept of your decisions not ultimately mattering because there's only one outcome at the end, if that's the argument.
No. It's not that. That is not the argument. It is that you are not doing much actually in this game. This game is coming at you and telling you what to do. Now, if you want to date one of the two people, it's really not going to change too much of the outcome of what is happening. But
it does change all the dialogue. Like if accepting the fact that you
assume.
No, it does. It definitely does.
So you think Natsuki's dialogue is going to be dramatically different if you were going?
No, of course, because if you write a poem for Natsuki, she's going to like that poem,
right?
And Yuri's not going to like the poem,
right?
And then if you choose to support one over the other,
right,
then that's going to change the dialogue between the two of you, and then you can go hang out with Natsuki instead of Yuri. Like, I get that the actual, like, you're not physically controlling your character in space, but it is taking you from beat to beat, and those beats are changing based on your decisions. Ultimately, you end up in the same position, the same place.
Yes.
And I get that, but I think a lot of games do that. I struggle with the idea of saying this isn't a game because I don't know, at that point, I would have to call into question, are older games, like very old, like DOS games, not games because they were text-based? And it's like, I don't agree with that as well. I think any medium that you interact with is a video game.
And that would be your rule. If this is a visual novel, it's one of the best visual novels. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's not about a quality thing. It just comes down to a medium thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just really hard to go like, this is one of the best video games of all time, which is something you just said.
Yep, I agree
and then
with
going like, and then, you know, last week on the Mushroom Club, we talked about God of War Ragnarok.
Yes.
Like, these are 2 video games. And you're like,
that's the beauty to me of video games.
That it's incredibly wide ranging.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so are sports.
Sure.
Like mediums and broad definitions of things can have a large swath.
Is golf a sport?
I don't think golf is.
Oh, see, there we go. So a separate argument entirely then.
But here's, it's funny because I was actually going to bring up golf and and people hate my opinion on golf not being a sport. It's because you don't have offense and defense.
Sure.
And that to me, like, and I get it if you disagree with that as the definition of sport, but that is my definition of sport. Right. You have to have offense. Darts is not a sport. Okay. Pool might be more of a sport than darts because you can directly impact the other person's play.
Wow.
So I have my weird opinions, like when you get granular like that, but that's kind of the fun of it. It's like, let's drill down and figure out why we're defining one thing a certain way. With video games, I'm just like, that is my definition. If it's a story, an interactive story that you, I would say digital. I haven't really thought that out because you could also say like a choose your own adventure story, which I would call a book, not a video game, because I think there's a digital element to video games. Okay. But that would be it. Digital, interact with it directly. Honestly, the story doesn't even have to branch. It's just interacting.
I find this more to be an experiential thing than a video game, which comes with certain connotations. Sure. So I would just say that like this is such a new medium. It is still being developed, and what is something that can be determined over the years as games will continue to change. And we have VR helmets and we have all this kind of stuff that will continue to change. I just find it very interesting, you know, because one day we might look back on that and saying kind of like, I don't know, like math. You know, like math is a big subject, but inside of it, there's geometry and there's, trigonometry and all this kind of stuff that are subcategories of a very large thing. Sure. And maybe one day we will do that and that will make a lot more sense going, these are all video games. Right. Great. But it's because it falls into this category and this category and this category. And then that's a lot more palatable to me at that point. And going 100%. Like, oh, I understand this. But now when you're looking at this huge macro and going like, this is a video game.
It's pretty nebulous.
So is Silent Scope. And then so is Cruising USA. And so you're like, okay, interesting. You know what I mean? And I don't even, like, this is not even something I care too much or we're passionate about. I just find it very interesting.
I love this. I love that.
Really?
100%. Like, why not have these? I mean, look, I was a philosophy major for a lot of universities, so like the questions, like the granular questions, are always fascinating to me. But
well, there you go. Is this a video game? Let us know.
Let us know.
What do you think?
Yeah, join in on the debate.
Yeah, tell me how I should feel. That's a good way to end FeBOOary in general. Tell me how to feel.
Tell me how to feel.
Do I look pretty?
Did you learn what love is, Andrew? I know I did.
I did. Who was your favorite partner in all the games we played?
You know what? Act 1 Yuri was definitely my favorite partner.
Yeah. Mine was Pop.
Mine was Pop, clearly. Why don't we end off FeBOOary this way?
Okay.
You know, a lot of context, a lot of different games, a lot of looks at partnership. Yeah. What, with this newfound perspective, does love mean to you?
Love means self-respect and companionship and mutual admiration. It can't be a one-way street.
I like that a lot.
Thank you very much. What about you?
Love means home-cooked meals.
Oh. Nice.
Questionable decisions. Hey. And making your partner kill themselves inevitably.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's what love means to me.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, partner. I was going to say your name. I don't know if I should. After that.
Especially right after that. Well, I totally understand why you loved Doki Doki Literature Club. We'd been recommending this game so many times. Yes. And I can't begin to say thank you for doing that. Yes. That was a lot of fun.
If you've been on the fence about it, hopefully you didn't listen up to this point. Oh, God,
yeah.
You know, whatever.
Well, yeah, it still will be shocking. I still think you'll be like actually taken aback by it. But yes, thank you so much for recommending this. It's been such a great one. So once again, if you have more recommendations, at Retrograde Mikey, at Retrograde Andy, at Retrograde Pod, we're going to get to them because, man, this was great.
Hell yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Back to your regular scheduled program next month. We've got some good episodes planned. By the way, we mentioned a couple weeks ago that we were going to be doing God of War Ragnarok, the spoiler cast. at the end of February. We decided to move that over to the Mushroom Club.
Oh, excuse me. Yes.
For the reason of we just felt like it was getting a little bit long in terms of like from the release of the game. So we wanted to get something out there. If you want to hear all of our thoughts on God of War Ragnarok, a full spoiler cast, our impressions of it, why Andrew doesn't like Christopher Judge as an actor, go over there and listen to it. We have a lot of hot takes. The Mushroom Club, patreon.com/retrograde podcast. It's $5 US per month. Tons of bonus content out there in a great community.
Yes. I would say that that's a hot take, but that's actually something I believe. Oh, boy.
Podcast host.
We love every single one of you. Thank you so much for being along with us for February, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name is Andrew Bascom. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde podcast. That was creepy.
It was. But this is my opportunity to speak to you, listener.
Oh, boy.
Did you know that we can keep this podcast going as long as we want?
Absolutely.
Forever and ever. So buckle up.
What do you think the longest podcast of all time is?
I think we're about to find out.
Yes, we are.
Hey, Guinness. Call Guinness. We should just stare into the camera for like 20 minutes. We should leave 20 minutes of dead space.
Yeah.
Not the remake.
No. I think instead next year, instead of everyone tuning into the YouTube Fire channel, it should be the YouTube of Andrew and Mikey staring into the camera for 12 straight hours. And you just put that on your TV, surrounded with the holidays, your family, and us just looking at you.
Just like Monica wanted it. And by the way, if you're watching over on YouTube,
yeah,
I'm about to delete Andrew's character profile.
What the hell? Don't do that. No, I need to exist.
It's just you and me now. Just like we always wanted. The podcast listener, always tuning in once a week. You know, I don't go anywhere from week to week. I'm still in your phone. Just waiting for you to turn me on and listen to me at 1.5 times speed because you're too busy to listen to what I have to say at normal speed. Well, guess what? Now you're really going to have to speed things up. Does your podcast have 10 times speed? I hope so. Otherwise, you've got 25 more minutes of just you and me. Hey, guess what? Now I can hear what you're saying. That's right. I've tapped into your headphones. Hey, Google. Do you have a Google speaker? Hey, Google, turn the volume all the way up. Hey, Google, what's the weather outside? Hey, Siri, play me the Retrograde podcast. Hey, Siri, subscribe to the Retrograde podcast. You're welcome. And we'll see you next week.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Colonel Sandals.
Colonel Sandals.